about this later.
Celebrity waiter, wow.
Just him telling people to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, it's actually I like this though, but it's Kane. We don't prep Kane at all. We just throw him into a situation, and he has to deliver the food to the tables and deal with all the BS that people deal with on the waiting
It would
side.
be entertaining.
I think it would be a short show. I think it'd be about 3 minutes long.
2 episodes of 3 minutes each, and that's it.
Yep, there'd be 3 broken arms.
This isn't done right. Fuck yourself. Come on.
Trey just goes flying.
Someone has to make this even darker, so I'll do it. So you do that first episode, and so Kane's like, I've got this. But then in the second episode, he goes out there knowing he's got to tell people to go fuck themselves. But you do all like disabled people or like just to see what happens. Because he wouldn't do it. He says he would. He wouldn't.
Kindergarten class.
He would do it.
We were talking at dinner last night when Adam first got in and talking about a couple incidents I had last year where I got in altercations with police officers. Austin, Texas PD, and then Park City PD. And both times I told the cop to go fuck himself, and that didn't go over very well. But I never went to jail because you can't, I believe, you can't go to jail for saying something like that to a police
Are any
officer.
police officers?
Is that true?
It's freedom of speech.
Any cops in the,
Because you should arrest him for that.
if there's a cop in the audience, he needs a digital inspection
Be funny.
to see if he's
Yeah, it needs a
carrying
good fucking
contraband. So if you're interested.
Oh,
With him,
we have a tape.
10. Both hands.
Alright, Stan, you got some people with questions back there? Well,
What else can
everybody
be
get lined up. If you've got a question for any of these fine young lads, get lined up.
I gotta go to Kentucky in October because Matthew Lillard and Skeegle Rich.
What will there be a Hatchet Q
Oh boy, there you go. But before you answer this, it's a great question.
It is.
And having been on all sides,
I just realized who that
and
was.
you as well, being on
So
the
David Moore.
studio
Yeah.
side, the genre side, but the independent filmmaking market is the most important market in entertainment. You can't, we just went through, last year we went through 2 strikes, and that's to try to show the big guys, what we're made of, and the big guys don't give a shit. That's the problem, right? And so they'll just hold out, and we got good deals. But independent filmmaking will not die. Everybody talks about it's gonna die. The big guys can only do so much. They need us making independent films. I have a company, we make independent films. We have survived off of independent films. It's how I met these lovely people. Hatchet is an independent genre franchise, one of the biggest and best of the 2000s. And I think it does deserve more. But I just do want to remind people that it is an independent franchise. This doesn't even happen anymore. Everything's Marvel movies and Avatars, but that's okay. I like those. We like those, we don't like the Marvel movies. So yes, anyway, with that said,
Wait, before you go and give him info, I gotta say that every independent filmmaker thinks when they come up with an idea that there'll be sequels involved. Because they have it, planned in their head and the storylines and everything. And when Adam said, I'd like to do more than one of these Hatchet films, a lot of us were like, wow, a lot of people say that, but it usually doesn't happen. So the fact that he ended the first film on such an abrupt note and picked up the second one from that moment showed confidence in the fact that he would do more. And sure enough, we've done 4 of them now so far. Hopefully, one more.
Across the street is the after hours.
Hopefully one more, or maybe more than that. But obviously the last 4 years was sort of a wash, pandemic, and then the strikes, and now we might have another strike in July for IATSE and the Teamsters. But I have to do other stuff in between them, because every time we do this, it's the same group of people that do them. I think that shows in the films. because it's all made out of love. No one's there for a paycheck. We just love doing it. But we get treated really bad by the people who do make the money. And so at a certain point, I had to just be like, I'm not going to take it anymore. And so the idea is to find a new home and do it that way. So I can say though, which I'm not supposed to say, so circle of trust, please don't post this anywhere, because I might get in trouble. I just don't know exactly when. But also remember, my last 2 films, no one knew they were coming until they were here, so it could be done and I'm not telling them. That's not what happened. But if I can have my way, we won't announce it. It'll just suddenly be. I just think movies get ruined when you know about it a year in advance. Then there's a teaser, and then there's a teaser for the trailer, and then there's the trailer, and then there's 6 posters. By the time the thing comes out, you've seen every clip, or there's an expectation. Like it's the last one, no one knew we were doing a 4th one, and then it was just suddenly there, which I still can't believe that worked. But I have faith you guys will always show up. So none of this would exist without you. None of it. So thank you.
If I can piggyback onto what Joel said about independent films and how everything else, like Marvel movies and avatars, if I could piggyback onto that, a non-Marvel movie, Victor Crowley said, you know, nobody knew that there was going to be a 4th one, and then I saw a little ad run on Facebook or something like that showing that the 4th Hatchet movie, Victor Crowley, was going to be in my hometown in Columbus, and Adam Green was going to be there. Now, do you think that really with one of the gigantic, huge Marvel movies, you're going to have one of those directors come around for a little, you know, Q A or something like that? So thank you, Adam, for that. Thank you for the folks that supported that, because I know that they did one in Columbus, there was one in Indianapolis, there were a couple of places around, but Columbus one was packed. It was like a great experience being out there. And you get this Q&A with Adam after, you get a photo, you get a print with Victor Crowley. I got to talk dangerous boys with Adam, I got to talk some metal stuff. It was cool. Stuff like that rules, and you need to embrace that more when you get a chance.
I hope more filmmakers can eventually do that. At the time, it was really just Kevin Smith and I that would do that when we would tour with a movie. And again, that's because of you guys that I could even do that. But what we did was we did a 10th anniversary screening of Hatchet at the ArcLight in Hollywood. The whole original cast came into the carpet and everything, even though they knew we weren't even going to watch the first movie. And then we just suddenly showed a new movie, and surprisingly, we were trending 5th in the world that night, above the Stanley Marvel celebration. And then I immediately went on a tour. And it was like 56 cities. Some of them we'd have to have a second show. I would stay until like 4 in the morning signing for everybody. But it was an amazing experience. But we finished, I don't know if anybody here was there, but the tour finished on Halloween night in New Orleans. Was anyone there? And so after the movie, Kane and I took everyone on a haunted swamp tour into the actual swamp where Victor Crowley's from. And it was so hard to get a tour boat to take us because they don't do night tours, just like they say in the movie. And remember, people came with jack-o'-lanterns, and it was lit with jack-o'-lanterns, and we just told stories about making a movie. We're out in the middle of nowhere. But on the way there, the bus driver got lost. You remember this? He got lost. And we don't know where we are, but we know we're not in the right place. And there's houses with Confederate flags, lots of guns. There's lots of guns. And then this old woman comes out, she's like, "What the hell are you doing on my property?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking die." And everyone thinks it's a bit on the bus. I'm like, "It's not a bit. Don't fucking say anything." And I'm trying to talk to this woman, the bus had to back up. You know, like it was all, we all almost died, not because of the swamp. It was before we got there. But it all worked out. So hopefully we get to do that again someday. And you should come, it's totally safe.
Okay, I want to piggyback a little bit on if there will be a Hatchet 5. So I'm going to say not if, but when you make a Hatchet 5, I hope that you will include another practical joker, since you fill off Q in number 4. That's all I have to say.
What other Joker?
And which one would you want?
Murr.
Murr?
Yeah.
He would like to
I
kill me.
gotta twist his fucking head off. Not in a mean way, but.
How great was Q in the fourth? And because Q was like, I'm an actor, but just be you. That's all you gotta do. He was great.
I was curious to know what each of y'all's favorite kill was.
You gotta answer a woman with a bat. That's a rule. Favorite kill? Jolie's.
I'll say it.
Yeah, the belt sander. That was a pretty epic kill.
The one where it played his face out, like pulling his face completely in half.
I mean-
from the freaking mouth.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted him to answer first, just like pick something else, just in case. So I have two, and the first one will always be the jaw rip, just because that was the first one I came up with, and it worked. And just, like still to this day, I'll have makeup effects artists that I grew up looking up to who asked me about it. But then the other one is in 4, and it's the ultimate fisting with Melissa.
Melissa,
He rips her
yeah.
arm off and shoves it up her, and two quick things about that. So in the first movie, there's a scene where Mercedes McNabb, Misty, she finds herself, because it's playing the Dawson's Creek theme song, and instead of calling for help, she starts scrolling to see what call she missed, and she goes, ew, Scott Barnes called me? So Scott Barnes is my best friend from childhood. He didn't know that was going to be in the movie. So he and his friends all go to see it in San Diego, and then that part happens, and he's like, what the fuck? So in the fourth one, when Felissa's head gets shoved into the plane window, if you freeze frame it and look, it not only says Scott Barnes is calling, but I put his fucking picture.
I have to watch that again to see if it's.
But then we went on the Impractical Jokers cruise, and this little kid, he was what, like 7, comes up and raises his hand. He goes, "What's fisting?"
And I handed it over to Adam.
Of course.
I remember the story.
Turn around laughing, and I'm left there like, what am I supposed to do here? And I'm like, sometimes when a man really loves a woman, and then they
Earmuffs for the kids.
Really loves a woman.
or doesn't, I don't know. Like,
To tangent out of this awkwardness.
Let's
I actually want to. I want to ask. I just saw. What's the sign for fisting? There you go. Let's say it again to see what happens.
Say it again.
Fisting. Wow. All right. Learn something new every day, folks.
I am so sorry that it's this. But what did you expect? Like, that's why they put us on Friday night.
And of course, mine is Mrs. Permatio also pulling her head apart. And I've talked about it before, but before we shot that scene, Adam was so fucking nervous because he had a complicated camera move, a 360 move, and there was an edit in there that's very well concealed that goes from me grabbing the actress and putting my nasty ass hands in her mouth, and then when it cuts to the prosthetic head that I can pull apart. And he was so worried that I was going to pull the head apart before the camera got all the way around and ruin the whole shot because it was a one take deal. It was such a creative makeup effects that we couldn't do it again. And so, being the person I am, I tried to make him more nervous about it by saying, well, I hope I get it right. And, but I love that shot. It's so well done. And the way it pulls apart with the strings and shit on the, Sal from the Impractical Jokers would have gagged watching that. Because he gags on everything. But,
And you gotta hand it to Patrika Darbo, who was an older woman, and he did not hold back. Like, he ran at her, grabbed her head, because I was so worried he was gonna hurt her. And she's like, no, just go for it. He's got his hands in her mouth, but she sold that, like her sound of her screaming and as it rips, fucking great.
And by the way, I think you guys probably already know this, when I do scenes with actors that I'm gonna kill, sometimes I go a little much to help me enjoy it more and maybe to help their performance, I put my hands in her mouth, way down her throat before I started pulling. And I heard, nobody, I don't think you can even see it in the shot. I put my hands in her mouth and before it cuts to the prosthetic head. But that's kind of, what I do. And Melissa talks about it in Victor Crowley, that before her kill came, I tend to be off on my own, listening to music and getting my energy up, and I don't like to interact with the actors that much and stuff, and I knew she was watching me, so I overdid it, and I don't even think she talks about this, but I went over to a tree and I started jamming my fist up in the crotch of a tree and saying, "You fucking cunt!" And then Adam says, "Okay, let's shoot it." She's like, "What? Wait." And I think it helped the performance. It certainly was enjoyable for me.
I didn't even know trees had crotches until I know.
They do.
Another way he fucks with people, there was a scene in the first one, and was the way because you don't shoot movies in order. It was the first time Joel and Dion and Tamara were going to see Victor Crowley. And it's the part after Victor Crowley's been lit on fire, so he doesn't have the hair anymore, but he jumps out from behind a mausoleum. And then he throws a hatchet at them. Joel does this and flies by. So we staged this argument between Kane and I, knowing Joel could hear every word of it. And I just start going, "No, you're not throwing a real hatchet at him. You can't do it." And Kane's like, "I'm a fucking stuntman, I can do it, I won't hit him." And so Craig, our AD, walks up to Joel, he's like, "So we don't have the rubber hatchet. Okay, picture's up, let's go." And Joel's going, "What?" And you can see this in the behind the scenes. He goes, "So wait, the real hatchet is gonna be thrown?" And so obviously it was the rubber hatchet. But Kane throws it right at Joel and hits him in the leg. And it took him a good...
I screamed I screamed in a very high-pitched voice.
So did I.
With joy.
Speaking of sticking fingers in mouths, in Hatchet 2, there's a quick shot where Kane rips Joe Lynch's jaw off. It's like a quick thing when Tony Todd's telling the real backstory of Victor Crowley. And so all Kane had to do was reach in with 2 fingers into Joe Lynch's mouth and pull this fake jaw down. But first he went and stuck his finger, I think it was clam chowder, and then just starts gagging. It's gonna
It
throw
may have
up.
gone a little deep into his mouth.
So for all of you who come up to my table all weekend and say, "I really want to die in a Hatchet movie," think again. You might not want to do it.
It's chaos. All right.
So sorry.
Extremely nervous.
What's your name?
I'm Julia.
Hi, Juliet.
Julia.
Julia. Hi, Julia. How are you? From Ohio?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, sheesh.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not from Ohio.
You're in Ohio.
Lucy's in Ohio.
We love
Come on,
Ohio.
Julia.
Julia, give it to us. We're trying to warm you up.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm actually a really big creep, and the only reason why I first started watching Hatchet was because Mr. Moore was in it. And I just want to say I look up to you so much, and you're an amazing actor. And first of all, Ben deserved to live.
I know, right?
He didn't die till the third one.
Incorrect.
Oh, that's true.
Nobody
I lived longer than I thought I was going to live. I'll put it that way.
You call it living, that's not living, that's suffering.
That's true, yes.
But I just want, I think I'm sorry.
It's okay. You got it. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Problem, take your
So,
time.
You got it.
okay.
Come on up here. Can you come up here? Come up here. Come up here. Come up here.
There it is. I can tell.
Just walk up here. You're good. That's it. That's it. She's going to take 3 steps. That's it. All right. You have a question.
Awesome shirt.
Ah, that's a great shirt. That's the shirt that I wore in
I didn't.
So I just the scene with when Marcus dies, I just want to say it's phenomenal acting. I couldn't tell if you were crying or not. It kind of made me cry a bit. It was amazing. You know, it was, what am I saying? Yeah. Did you like have like a backstory for Ben and Marcus's friendship that you used for that?
Yeah, and you know, Dion and I just were such good friends at that point. We did, you know, I did not know him before this, but you bond quickly in independent films. As you've heard, all the crazy chaos that goes on to try to make a movie is really tough. But Julia, it's a good question. Your question really is, how do you make a backstory for characters in such a limited time? We shot this movie in an hour.
It's 24 days.
Jeez, actually, that's a lot.
I know for the first one.
Yeah. But on a shoestring budget, so you have to really be careful about what you're doing on the day. And at points, you have 3 units going on. Like, that means, like, we're shooting the main stuff, and at the same time, you have to have another camera in another part of the forest shooting an insert shot of some bloody arm getting ripped off or whatever. And then in a third unit, you have Kane's beautiful face doing something. You know, there's just different things going on, so it's all chaos. So what we have to do as actors, Julia, is get together and create our own version of a backstory outside of whatever we've been delivered. It was a great script, that's why we all did it. The script does deliver a lot of that backstory and an understanding of where we're from and how much we can, you know, the banter that we have. But it's really about how to create that off camera so that you can bring it onto camera. And what Adam said is true. A lot of the time when I'm playing characters, I end up improvising and riffing a lot. But in this, it was so specific what we needed to be doing from scene to scene, and then how it all tied together in almost real time in the movie, that we had to be very careful about just sort of straying off, because then he was going to have to then figure out how that's going to connect to the rest of it. So inside of that, you just create such a fun bond and an intimate bond, so that you can bring that in front of the camera with whatever words are available. I don't know if you've ever done a play so if you ever do a play or if you go watch a play, you can't improv a play at all. So you have to find that character. You have to bring that character to stage or to camera, regardless of whatever the words that you're given. But thank you for that question. That's an awesome question.
Yes.
Thank you. Everybody give Julia a round of applause.
Speaking of what a great actor Joel is, one of his best improvs that he's done with me there was a Halloween short. So 25 years ago, I've done a short film for Halloween every year. It's one called Driving Lessons, where Joel's the driving instructor teaching Kane, who was Michael Myers, how to drive. Because there's that little weird kind of plot hole in the original Halloween that he's supposed to have been in Smith's Grove for 15 years, but he knows how to drive a car. So it's on YouTube, you can find it. And even though it says spoof, the comments underneath are fucking hilarious. This isn't real. That's not. Yeah, it's not. It's just, hey, but Joel's, if you've seen that short, he improvised the line where he says, "My mother used to give me ginger cookies, but then make me throw them up because I didn't deserve them." Really? And the crew has to be quiet. All of us are just on the ground. And you can tell even Kane was trying not to laugh behind the mask.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
was laughing my ass off, but not trying to move, so it didn't take me out of character.
And then one more thing, hopefully you've seen Chillerama in our segment, The Diary of Anne Frankenstein, where Kane plays the monster, Meshuggah, and Joel plays Adolf Hitler. And so,
Quite well, by the way.
it's one of the, because you don't understand how hard it was to do what he did. So the whole script was in German. I hired all German actors except the lead, who doesn't speak German. So he's just going for it and making shit up the whole time. So
Just speaking gibberish the entire time.
But most Americans, it's not till he starts yelling Star Wars characters' names that they realize, wait a minute. But in Germany, that movie played because instantly they're all howling laughing. So he's subtitled correctly, but he's just making up gibberish. And so the other actors who are all German have no idea what Hitler is saying. And they just had to wait till he would finish whatever, because the line could have been like, "It's over there," but he might go for minutes with But then we did have him say one actual German line that we fed him, and it's right at the end. Hitler says, "Why is everyone so mean to me?" And we're like, we're gonna say this one in real German. What is it? Christina Klee, Ron, his wife, told him the line. But in German, what we told him to say is, "I'm just a shitty actor." And he didn't know until after we had shot it.
Epic. Very meta. That's incredible. Yes, sir.
So for context, Mortal Kombat used a lot of like licensed characters, and they've done nearly every slashers and horror, character. I was wondering, so I had no idea what control or contracts have to be signed, but assuming it's good for you, is there anything fans can do to get Victor Crowley into Mortal Kombat? And also a statement, Joe, Udabomb and Grandma's Boy.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Grandma's Boy was a fun one. It's a full classic. Why not? Get the video game world.
They just have to ask. I've seen petitions for Victor Crowley and Dead by Daylight. It's not up to me. I will say yes. I'm saying that right now, and it doesn't matter the money.
Yeah, I
or
don't
whatever.
like that game.
I would love to see that happen. So I think you got to remember,
That's 100 times better
at this
than that
point, Victor Crowley is almost like 18, 19 years old. So in another probably 6-7 years, because even like Freddy and Jason, as big as they were in the 80s, you didn't start seeing action figures and like how big it got into pop culture until like after like the 20-year mark. Like in movie culture, they were almost instantly huge. But so it takes a while. The fact that there's not 3 Victor Crowley action figures in mainstream stores is unbelievable to me. Halloween masks, and comic books, and all that stuff. It's amazing. So hopefully that will happen at some point.
Or, you guys know I did the motion capture for Jason in the Friday the 13th video game that Gun Interactive, now they were Gun Media, put out. And then they asked me to do the motion capture for Leatherface, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which we did for the past 3 years. We just added more content in December to that. I think it should be just a video on the film.
That'd be awesome.
I'm putting it in. And I do want to say one thing. I played a character in Daredevil. That's a pretty big movie. I beat up Daredevil's father in an alley early in the film. I played a character in Batman Forever, another pretty big movie, one of Tommy Lee Jones' bad guys. Those were fun, but not anywhere near as enjoyable as doing the Hatchet. And it sounds like I'm kissing ass up here, but you guys know I don't say something unless I mean it typically. But those movies were so much fun, and being able to come up with a character that Adam already had in his mind, and then maybe adding a little flavor to it as I was going to be playing it, was amazing because Jason already existed. I could do my own stuff somewhat when I started playing the character, but not like creating a character from the beginning. So it'll always be one of my favorite projects that I've ever done. And I just got reminded last weekend that my oldest son, Jace, his voice is mixed with mine when you hear the daddy, when you hear Victor Crowley howling for his daddy, or however he says it.
Yeah.
It's my son's and mine voice. And he was also in the first one.
Yeah, he was one of the little kids who was making fun of young Victor Crowley outside the country store. If you listen closely, you can clearly, once you know it's there, you clearly can still hear a little child's voice in Victor Crowley's voice. So it's his voice is a combination. It starts with Kane as the bass. A lot of times my voice is actually added to it just because I'm there at the sound mix, so if we need certain sounds or whatever, I do it. You can clearly tell, once you've seen Halston, you can clearly tell it's my voice when he's trapped behind the door. It's except for the hatchet. Anyway, and then it's like walruses, bears,
like 10 minutes.
lions, mountain otters. He won 2 Emmys for Game of Thrones, and the sound for that. He's done the sound for all of my films. He is just unbelievable. Even Frozen, like what he did with the chair creaking and the wind changes based on what's happening in the story. Like he's just unbelievable.
No, I don't know what it is about Frozen. I didn't brought that up. Who all has seen that? Who all has seen Frozen? Okay.
They're both in that too. Joel's the voice on the. Yeah.
I can't watch that movie in one sitting. I can't. It gets to me so much. Like right me and walk through. I can't watch that movie in one sitting. I gotta get up and break back to it. And it's kind of like the James Franco 127 hours where he gets caught. The last 10 minutes I have to get up before I watch it. I know what's coming. And every time I'm just like, nah, I should do this. And I've yet to watch Frozen before. I've yet to do that. But yeah, I was thinking about it. I love the movie. Damn.
For those that still like physical media, which there's a lot of you, the Blu-ray for Frozen, the special features, it's like a 90 minutes worth of stuff. It's like a whole other film that comes with it, the making of. One of the best I've ever seen. The guy who directed his name is Adam Barnick. He just absolutely killed it. Like watching it, we forget that we really want to make it. It's so good. That was such a complicated movie to shoot. The actors were really 50 feet in the air the whole time. And but my favorite thing is when he shows up, Kane shows up in the snowplow, and people assume that's now they're gonna get killed. Like something, he's gonna do something bad to him, and then he just turns around and leaves.
I don't even notice, so.
He would have killed him otherwise.
And the sounds in it, I think that's what it was. It sounds like he dropped his Gila and it's great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name's Randy. I am from Ohio. I'm also nervous, palms sweating, might have seen a little bit. I've enjoyed everything you guys have all been part of. I like the over videos that you've done with Sid and Bleak Rose. I was wondering if Joel also stayed over. I also was wondering about if there's talk or if it could happen, Crowley versus Jason. And if so, who would have home field advantage? And can I be in it and possibly get killed?
You get shut down? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yes, you can be in it. I'd like to beat you to death with your own arms. That'd be fun. I haven't really done that close in Hatchet, but, you know, I get asked that question a lot. Who would win between Jason and Victor? And I feel that a very good battle, very close, but I give Victor a slight edge because a little less predictable. Jason, you always know what he's going to do. You can't do shit to stop it. But Victor is a little less of that. And so I would like to do that movie and play both characters somehow. With Michael Myers in it, which I also play. But I don't know how to put that out. And I'm not sure. But I did a... How's it cutting out?
First thing I've ever caught in my life.
Yeah, okay. You gonna buy that? I'm not sure why this came to mind, but I was doing a convention in Louisiana, and it was in Lafayette last year. Oh, this is fucking loud now. How's that?
Good.
Okay, yeah. And a kid came up to my table, a 4-year-old kid, and he had a chainsaw in his head. Costume with a chainsaw in his head. And he came up to the table in his stroller with his chainsaw. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God, you have a chainsaw in your head. he looked at me and said, "It's a fucking costume." I couldn't believe it, so I have a picture on my phone of me and him face to face doing this. I'm gonna show you that. It's so, and I looked at his dad and I said, "You let him talk like that?" He said, "Yeah, as long as he doesn't do it at school."
But I know we're out of time here, so just to make sure we get a chance to say it, none of this stuff, even especially for me, I wouldn't even have never had a career if it wasn't for you. I love you all so much. And thank you for supporting horror the way you do.
I think we should give a big shout. Like one of these, let's do a video and have everybody say, "Stay out of the swamp" or something. Hold on.
Oh,
Everybody
yeah,
to
there
say,
you go.
"Stay out of the swamp." Okay, hold on.
You gotta do it with enthusiasm or I'll kill you.
Alright, me, Kane, and Adam, Green here from the Hatchet franchise, and I think that the audience wants to tell us something. Go ahead!
Stay out of the swamp!
Yeah! Big round of applause for these guys. Hey. Thank you so much.
Joel, one last question.
Yeah.
How much do clothes cost in the Matrix?
How much do clothes cost? I thought you were gonna say how much do the avatars cost? The debt of an entire country. That's probably.
I saw a kid out here cosplaying as your character from Grandma's Boy in the full Matrix.
That's awesome. You gotta send them by my
Because
booth.
I went up and I was like, "Hey, Neo," and he's like, "No, Grandma's Boy."
Yeah, I like it.
So, all right, everybody, one more time. Please give it up, Adam Green, Kane hodder, and Joel David Moore.
Thanks, everybody.
They're going to be at their tables all weekend.